जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जन गिरिवर धारी जय गोपी जन गिरिवर धारी यशोदानन्दन व्रज जन रञ्जना यशोदानन्दन व्रज जन रञ्जना यमुनतीरावनचारी यमुनतीरावनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा शिल प्रभुपदा जय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल Hari Hari Bol. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Canto 3, Chapter 31, verse number 19. Pasyati ayam disanayana saptavadri. Shariragedam sharira prasvadehe. Yad srischayasam tamaham purusham puranam. Pashyabhirhidi cha chaityamiva prat pratitam. Pasyatya ayam dishanayana-nusaptavadri. Sharirakedam sharira aprasvadehe. Yatsrichayasam tamaham purusham puranam. Pasyabhirhidi cha chaityamiva pratitam. Pasyati ayam dishanayana-nusaptavadri. Sharirakedam sharira prasvadehe. Yatsrischayasam tamaham purusham puranam. Pashyabhirhidi cha Pashyabhirhidi chaya chaityamiva pratitam.
Pashyatiyam dishanaya nanu saptavadihi. Sharirake damastarira apara swadehe. Yat srishtaya tam aham purusham puranam.
Samtamaham purusham puranam.
Pasye bahirajita chaityam iva pratitam.
Pasye bahirhidi cha chaityamiva pratitam. Pasyatyam dishanayana-nusaptavadri. Pashyati, sees. I am this living entity. Oh, one minute. Okay.
You can minimize your.
Oh,
No,
how do I take it out?
bring the cursor on. Bring the cursor.
Okay.
Bring the just yeah. That's it. Left one.
Oh, okay. I get it now. Okay. Sorry. Pashyati, sees. I am this living entity. Visana Anaya, with intelligence. Nanu, only. Saptavadri, bound by the 7 layers of material coverings. Sharirake, agreeable and disagreeable sense perceptions. Dhamma Sariri, having a body for self-control. Aparaha, another. Swadehe, in this body. Yat, the supreme, by the Supreme Lord. Sristaya, endowed. Asam, was. Tam, him. Aham, I. Purusham, person. Puranam, oldest. Pashye, see. Bahi, outside. Hridi, in the heart. Cha, and. Chaityam, the source of the ego. Iva, indeed. Pratitam, recognized. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The living entity in another type of body sees only by instinct. He knows only the agreeable and the disagreeable sense perceptions of that particular body. But I have a body in which I can control my senses and can understand my destination. Therefore, I offer my respectful obeisances to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but by whom I've been blessed with this body and by whose grace I can see him within and without. Purport. The evolutionary process of different types of bodies is something like that of a fructifying flower. Just as there are different stages in the growth of a flower, the bud stage, the blooming stage, and the fully fledged, grown up stage of the aroma and beauty. Similarly, there are 8,400,000 species of body in gradual evolution. Oh, 8 million. And there is a systematic progress from the lower species of life to the higher. The human form of life is supposed to be the highest, for it offers consciousness for getting out of the clutches of birth and death. The fortunate child in the womb of his mother realizes his superior position and is thereby distinguished by other bodies. Animals in bodies lower than that of human being are conscious only as far as their bodily distress and happiness are concerned. They cannot think of more than their bodily necessities of life, eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. But in the human form of life, by the grace of Lord, the consciousness is so developed that a man can evaluate his exceptional position and thus realize the self and the Supreme Lord. The word Dhammasariri means that we have a body in which we can control the senses and the mind. The complication of materialistic life is due to an uncontrolled mind and uncontrolled senses. One should feel grateful to the Supreme Personality of Godhead for having obtained such a nice human form of body. And one should properly utilize it. The distinction between an animal and a man is that an animal cannot control himself and has no sense of decency, whereas the human has a sense of decency and can control himself. If this control power is not exhibited by the human being, then he is no better than an animal. By controlling the senses or by the process of yoga regulation, one can understand the position of the self, the super soul, the world, and the interrelation. Everything is possible by controlling the senses. Otherwise, we are no better than animals. Real self-realization by means of controlling the senses is explained herein. One should try to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead and one's own self also. To think oneself the same as the Supreme is not self-realization. Here it is clearly explained that the Supreme Lord is Anadi or Purana, and he has no other cause. The living entity is born of the supreme as the part and parcel. It is confirmed in the Brahma Samhita, Anadir Adir Govinda. Govinda, the Supreme Person, has no cause. He is unborn, but the living entity is born of him. As confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita, Mamai Vimsaha. Both the living entity and the Supreme Lord are unborn. But it has to be understood that the supreme cause of the part and parcel is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Brahma Samhita therefore says that everything has come from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sarva Karana Karanam. The Vedanta Sutra confirms this also. Janmadi asya yatahadas. The absolute truth is the original source of everyone's birth. Krishna also in the Bhagavad Gita, Aham sarvasya prabhava. I am the source of the birth of everything, include Brahma and Lord Shiva and the living entities. This is self-realization. One should know that he is under the control of the Supreme Lord and not to think that he is fully independent. Otherwise, why should he put into the conditioned life? Reading the translation again. The living entity is another type of body, sees only by instinct. He knows only the agreeable and the disagreeable sense perceptions of that particular body. But I have a body in which I can control my senses and can understand my destination. Therefore, I offer my respectful obeisances to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but by whom I have been blessed with this body and by whose grace I can see him within and without. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namini. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschat Vishata. Hare Krishna, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to speak. I'm actually grateful for this opportunity. One, because I had an opportunity to study the verse and the prayers. And while preparing for this, it was just not focusing on the prayers of the soul. It helped me to get into the prayers of all the other devotees who have spoken in the pages of the Bhagavatam. And also allowed me to hear from the person backwards. So I'm really, really grateful, because I'm not sure about, if I'll be able to share exactly as they have spoken. I pray that I'll be able to do that to the best of my ability. So I seek the prayers from all of you that I can speak what I've heard and what I've read in the last couple of days while preparing for this verse. So while reading this verse in Bhagavad Gita chapter 18:12, the Lord says, right? Abrahma Bhuvana Loka, 1816. Sorry, Shrida, you're 816 or? Okay. Oh, yeah, you're right, 816. So the Lord says, Abrahma Bhuvana Loka, Puna Avartino Arjuna, Mamu Petye Kaunteya, Punar Janma Navidyate. So every living entity, all the way from Brahmaloka to the lowest planet, they go through this cycle of birth and death. And the only way a soul can get out of this is when we take the shelter of the Lord and we practice the process, and we take up the process of devotional service. So I know we've been reading these verses for the last, and devotees have been speaking about these verses from, I think, 12 to 21. They are the prayers of the soul, right? Praying to the Lord, because of the circumstance he or she is put into, these prayers are coming up so naturally, right? But once we are in a good position, we forget all these prayers. So that's so natural, and that's what is shared. And yesterday, Devi Prabhu also was sharing that once the soul comes out and he's born, right? He's into this material world. He's under the modes of the material nature. He's going through this happiness. And once all these prayers are gone, and I was trying to understand, right? In the Bhagavatam, we have the prayers of Dhruv Maharaj. We have the prayers of Prahlad Maharaj. We have prayers of Queen Kunti. Like all these exalted devotees, praying. And these are actually prayers of gratitude. And when we see this, the soul is also praying the same, expressing the same emotion, which is the emotion of gratitude to the Lord, right? And actually, Prabhupada in the purport, he says, one should feel grateful to the Supreme Personality of Godhead for having obtained such a nice human form of body. And one should properly utilize it. What Srila Prabhupada is trying to share is gratitude is such an important factor for us when we are in this process of bhakti. Srila Prabhupada says in one of the morning walks, he shares that gratitude is actually a sign of intelligence, right? And what happens is it actually nourishes the heart. Radhanath Maharaj says that it nourishes the heart. It helps us to advance in the path of bhakti, right? So gratitude, and Yugal Kishore Prabhu actually in one of the classes said, gratitude is not different from bhakti. Gratitude is bhakti, right? So gratitude is bhakti. So when we perform bhakti, we are actually expressing the gratitude. So there was a nice story that I would like to share. So there was a teacher who wanted to share or who wanted to teach the lessons of gratitude to the class. So what she asks the students to do is, she says, okay, everyone take a piece of paper and draw something, right? Draw something. And when you draw, keep in mind that you're drawing about a person or a thing that you're grateful for. So all the kids draw, someone draws a home, someone draws their mom and dad, someone draws, flowers and nature. So, and then what happens, each one has made all their drawings. And then the teacher asks each student to come up and show to the classroom what they drew. So one kid comes up and he shows a picture of his mom and dad. And he says, I'm grateful to my parents. And then the next child comes and she shows actually a piece of chocolate. She says, I'm grateful to chocolate because she loves chocolate. She enjoys the taste of chocolate. And there's another child who shows a picture of the house. She's like, I'm grateful that I have a house to live in. And then there's another child. There's a very quiet child who is in the corner. So the teacher notices and calls the child. And he says, Simon, come over and show what you've drawn. And the child shows a hand, a palm. And the teacher looks at the palm and then he says, okay, let's play a trick. The child is not saying what it is, right? He's struggling because he's a very quiet child. So the teacher, what she does is so that the child can speak. So what she says is, okay, let's have a game. We will ask to guess whose hand it is. So she goes around the classroom and she asks all the students, and then one child says, I think it's his mom's hand. And the other child says, maybe it's his father's hand. And another child says, maybe it is his hand. So after the 2 or 3 answers she gets, the teacher looks at the child and she says, Simon, do you want to share whose hand it is? So now the child is now in a little comfortable situation. So what he answers is, he looks at the teacher and he says, it's your hand. So what actually, if you look at that small story, the teacher understands the student, right? So she's making sure that the student is comfortable, allowing that student to be comfortable, and then encouraging the student to speak. So in our life also, we have such hands. The only thing is we have to see what it is. And gratitude is a 3-step process, right? It's the first step. The step number 1 is to recognize, to see that hand in our life. It can be the hand of our Guru, the hand of Krishna, the hand of all the Vaishnavas, the hand of our parents too, because they are the ones who held us to come to be where we are today, right? If it was not for them, we would not have been where we are today. So that hand is also there, right? And all our family and friends. And, so it's very important that we become more aware. One is to be aware of a hand that is there and to recognize that hand also. So that is the first step of gratitude. Then from there goes to the second step, which is the most difficult step, which is to reciprocate that gratitude, to respond to that gratitude. And, while we reciprocate or respond, there are different ways we can reciprocate and respond. We can be grateful by our thoughts, we can be grateful by our actions, and we can be grateful by our words. So gratitude doesn't mean that it's just one. It can be in any form we can express our gratitude. So the child, by just drawing that, he expressed his gratitude, right? He didn't have to put something flowery language. He didn't have to draw a lot of colors. It's a simple hand that he put, and he expressed his gratitude towards his teacher. Now, when we talk about gratitude by thoughts, right? When we talk about gratitude by thoughts, how can we express gratitude by thoughts? Now, this I was contemplating on how can I express, and I found that number 1, gratitude is easy when we see someone doing good to us, when someone helping us. When someone is not doing good to us, that's a challenging time to express gratitude. And because we are not comfortable to, even though we feel that this thing, right? Because of our ego, because of our conditioning, we cannot break those walls to express the gratitude through words and actions. I found that that's where gratitude by thought works. And I've seen many times when I struggle, when I'm in a strained situation or in a difficult situation or in a difficult relationship, when I cannot express through words and actions, gratitude by thoughts had been my shelter. So how we can do, just by simply praying. They don't have to know that we are expressing the gratitude. Just by the thoughts, by wishing them well, we're expressing gratitude. We don't have to say, oh, I'm grateful. If we can, we can. But because again of our condition, we struggle, right? Just by wishing them well, we can express our gratitude. The next one is gratitude by words. When we come to gratitude by words, when we express, there are 3 important areas that we need to express gratitude in our lives. 1, gratitude to our devotees, our community. Now, how can we express gratitude by words in the community that we live, right? We express our gratitude by glorifying them, by appreciating their services, by appreciating their sadhana, sometimes it can be just by appreciating their association, right? Just being there, we can express our gratitude. We don't have to speak. We can just holding a hand. Sometimes that feel of touch also can speak volumes. It's an because gratitude comes right from the heart, right? Just that touch, you can communicate. Right? Because sometimes, when you see even animals, when you take care of an animal reciprocates, right? It doesn't know the language. It's just communicating by the sense of touch, like a dog, right? You see that the dog licks or it pats or it rubs up. These are emotions, right? Because gratitude is right from the heart, and heart is a place of emotions, where the emotions are seated. And why it is there? Because the Lord is present there. That's why. So now when we come to expressing gratitude through the devotees, by expressing our appreciation. Now, when we express our appreciation, they can be simple words. We don't have to write poetry about it. It can be, I'm very grateful to you. I'm very thankful to you for sharing. For example, just the other day, like Thursday, we were dressing the deities. And I was standing, my Prabhu was doing the 8:15 Aarti, and I was just standing taking darshan of the Lord. Maharasa comes, stands next to me, and what she was trying to do is, she was telling me, Mataji, in the Canto 3, Srila Prabhupada writes, the lotus feet is this, the lotus feet of the Lord is this. The nails in the lotus feet are so illustrious, they're so bright. And so she was explaining every anga of the Lord. And when she was doing it, I was just hearing. And when I went on the altar and when we were dressing the Lord, actually I was meditating on those things that she was sharing when I was standing there. So I felt so grateful to her that those words have helped me to meditate when I'm dressing the Lord. So I was sharing with my husband that I'm very grateful to her. So just that appreciation is enough for us to express our gratitude. The next one is expressing gratitude to our Guru. It's very, 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 very important. How do we express our gratitude to our Guru by our words is one, by glorifying him, just not on his Vyas Puja, but every day should be our glorification. By chanting the Samsara Dava prayers, by chanting the Guru Vandana prayers. We don't have to make again flowery language. The prayers are already there. Just meditate, take shelter in those prayers. That's how we glorify our spiritual master. Another way of glorifying the spiritual master is, just as our spiritual master is a transparent via media to share the knowledge in the parampara, we also have to become a transparent medium, that when someone appreciates us, right, that we become the transparent media to transfer those appreciation and glories to our Guru Maharaj, to our spiritual master. That's how we express our gratitude, because it doesn't belong to us. The glory belongs to them. And Srila Prabhupada actually says in one of the verses that gratitude, if we are not expressing, we are like thieves, right? We are taking it for ourselves. It's not. We are not the owners of that appreciation. So identifying it and transferring that appreciation to our Guru is our way of appreciating our spiritual master. And we also see this in the pages of the Bhagavatam. When Prahlad Maharaj was glorifying, he was giving all the credit to Narad Muni because of him, right? And then the next one is expressing gratitude through words to the Supreme Personality of God, to Krishna. Now, how do we do this? Right? We do that by glorifying the Lord. We do that by chanting, right? A nice example for that is, again, in the conversation between Narad Muni and Vyasadeva in Canto 1, I think chapter 7, I guess, first Canto, chapter 7, where Vyasadeva is asking Narad Muni, like, you were born to a servant, you have served the Bhakti Vedantas, and how did you come to this point, right? So Narad Muni is telling that I have meditated on the Lord, and the Lord had given me a glimpse, right? He'd given me the glimpse of that pleasure. Because of that pleasure, I wanted it again. And the Lord appeared and he said that it is only, you will take another birth and you have to go through it. So Narad Muni is expressing his deep gratitude to the Lord by saying, that is because of the Lord, I got this understanding. So similarly, we also have to understand what we have in our lives. It's only because of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sometimes it's hard, but if we can just sit, think about it for a minute or two and see, if we didn't have oxygen, right, we won't be able to even breathe. We didn't have water. So these are the areas. Every time we drink, Krishna says, I am in the water, I'm in the air, right? So when we breathe, we can think about Krishna and express our gratitude for giving us that air to breathe. Express our gratitude when we drink the water. Just thinking itself is expressing our gratitude, right? When we think about the Lord, we are expressing our gratitude too. So that's how, through our words, we can express gratitude. The next is expressing gratitude through our actions, right? Now, how can we express our gratitude through our actions? First, to the devotees. by having loving exchanges, right? In the Nectar of Instruction, I think verse 4, Srila Rupa Goswami says that different loving exchanges devotees can have. So when we are grateful, we invite them for prasadam, or we go and have prasadam, and we have exchange of gifts, right? And it could be a loving embrace too. Action means it's loving embrace. Again, holding the hand, it's an emotion, right? And the most important thing when we are doing this in action, right? We always think, oh, we have to serve the devotees, right? That is our mood. Yes, that is good. But also receiving is very important, because receiving helps us to be more grateful. When we are doing something, when we are offering service, there is a chance for pride, right? But when we receive it, there is a better chance to be grateful, especially where we are at. At least I'm where I'm at. So when I receive something, I receive with a grateful heart, right? Sometimes devotees say, oh, please don't, Mataji, don't, I don't want to take any service from you. That should be there. Definitely that mood should be there. However, by taking that, we are also appreciating appreciating their glory, their strength. So that is also important. So that is gratitude by action to the devotees. Now, gratitude by action to Guru, to Srila Prabhupada, how can we express it? By following the instructions, right? By following just not the basic instructions or the four regulative principles and the chanting, but also taking the two other hidden instructions that our Guru gives us. One, never leave ISKCON. Always stay under the umbrella of ISKCON. And always be loyal to Srila Prabhupada. These are the two important instructions apart from the 6 instructions that our Guru gives. And when we follow these instructions, then we are expressing our gratitude by our action to our Guru, right? And if you look at all our spiritual masters or all the devotees in ISKCON that we have, right? Look at it. Some of the devotees have never met Srila Prabhupada, but they've given almost 5 decades of their life in service to their Guru. That's how they've expressed, and they're practically showing us how to express it. All we have to do is stay in that shelter and follow them. That's it, right? And I just want to share one point. I just want to go back when sharing gratitude by actions among devotees. There's one important thing I forgot to mention. This was when Bhakti Maharaj was living, right? Leaving his body. This is how we can see how our acharyas are doing, right? Bhakti Maharaj was living. Radhanath Maharaj spent days, preparing him, being next to him, and when he was leaving. And he expressed his gratitude to Bhakti Maharaj by writing the journey home. It is his own journey. Actually, it is his own journey. On one hand, we can think it's his own glory. Maharaj would have written any time. He doesn't have to wait for that time. But the real purpose that Radhanath Maharaj wrote Journey Home was expressing his deep gratitude by following what the desire of Bhakti Maharaj. And I also wanted to share another sweet exchange between Romapad Maharaj and Bhakti Maharaj. Bhakti Maharaj was very connected to the Gita Nagari farm. And when Maharaj was leaving, it is hard, right? So Romapad Maharaj made a promise. Like, he didn't have to publicize it, but it was he expressed his gratitude just not by one day, right? Every year he does retreat, the Memorial Day retreat in Gita Nagari. So the devotees can come, they can take shelter of Radha Damodar, they can take shelter of Srila Prabhupada and Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj. So that shows like, wow, like gratitude is in action, right? Because actions speak louder than words. Words are also important, but actions speak louder than words. Sorry, I just wanted to share that. And also, there's another sweet story that I wanted to share about gratitude, how to express to devotees. And this is from the pages of the Bhagavatam. When Rukmini Devi marriage was, arranged to Shishupal, and she writes a letter to Krishna, right? She gives the letter to the Brahman, and the Brahmana goes and gives the letter, and he comes back, right? So now Rukmini Devi, she is the goddess, she is other than the consort of the Lord. Now, when the Brahmana comes, even she's expressing the gratitude to this Brahmana. And how she expresses, in the Krishna book, Srila Prabhupada says, she expresses her gratitude by paying obeisances to that Brahmana. So we can see that it's just not us, but the Lord and they're also, it's an exchange. That's why Krishna consciousness is all about loving exchanges. It's all about expression. It's all about emotion. So that's another pastime I wanted to share. Now coming to the gratitude by action to the Lord, right? Now, how can we express through our actions, right? Yesterday, Krishna Kumar Prabhu and myself, we were having a conversation, right? And we were talking about what is actually, gratitude by action. And I was we were discussing, and I said, I think Prabhu, according to me, I think gratitude by action is by chanting the holy name, right? That is how we're expressing our gratitude, because we're praying, we're telling, oh Lord, please engage me in your service, right? I'm expressing my gratitude to engage me in his service of his devotees. So, and then he said, how? And then I was thinking about it, and he shared a very wonderful point. He says that what is the most valuable thing that we have in our life is time, right? And our time in this earth or our life is counted by the number of breaths, not the number of years we live, right? And he says that every breath is so valuable. And if we are engaging every breath in the chanting of the name, right? That is devotion in action. And because Nam, the Lord's name is not different from the Lord himself. So by doing Nam Seva, we're doing a direct service, paying our gratitude towards the Lord in action. And again, we see this in the prayers of Prahlad Maharaj. In the Canto 7, Prahlad Maharaj is glorifying, he's praying, he's expressing his gratitude. And how he's expressing his gratitude is so beautiful, right? He's saying, I'm born from a demon family, right? I have no qualification, yet you're so merciful. Time and again, when I'm in trouble, you're coming and saving me. That's such a beautiful prayer that Prahlad Maharaj is expressing to the Lord. Now, one is, so for us, yes, we express through our chanting. We also express through our simple words of being thankful to the Lord for what he has given us, right? How? When we come to the temple, right? We have new guests that come. Those guests who have come, they are the guests of the Lord. They are not our guests. So by being his servants, right? And by sharing this knowledge, by engaging them in the service of the holy name, or by at least sharing the knowledge itself, we are actually doing, we are expressing our gratitude to the Lord by our action, right? And very important that gratitude is not a momentary thing. It's just not one moment. It's a continuous thing and it goes on. It's not that today I'm grateful to this person, that means I'm done for the day. No, we continue to be grateful to that person for that one thing he's done for the rest of our life. Yeah, we might meditate on sometimes, we might not meditate on sometimes. So I just want, there were few things that my spiritual master had shared, right, when he was on the planet. And I could never relate to it. After so many years, right, as we mature, right, those thoughts, those lessons, those instructions come into mind. And that gives a chance for us to pay gratitude towards that devotee or guru or Krishna, right? And in the pastime of Dhruv Maharaj, right, we see that how gratitude can be a continuous process. Because what happens is Dhruv Maharaj, when he was at the age of 5, right, that's when he was rejected by his father. He was not allowed to sit on the lap of his father. And then his mother tells, okay, if you want to no, the stepmother says that if you want to sit on the lap of your father, you have to be born from it. So the Maharaj is very rejected. He's sad. He goes to his mother and he expresses it, right? Why? Why cannot I sit on the lap of my father? And then she says, I'm also sad, equally sad, because even for a mother, that rather than her own pain, to see her child in pain is even more painful, right? So what she says is, I cannot help you. Take shelter of the Lord. So what he does, he goes to the forest. He meets Narad Muni. He takes the instruction from Narad Muni, and he starts meditating on the Lord. And when the Lord appears in front of him, it's so sweet in that chapter. Srila Prabhupada says that he's a little boy, right? He doesn't have words of appreciation. He can glorify the Lord. So the Lord, with his conch shell, touches on his head. The minute he touches, that's the power of the Lord and the Guru and the spiritual master. When they give us that shelter, right, we get empowered. And Dhruva Maharaj gets empowered. When he gets empowered, he's now reciting, he's praying. What am I looking for? Just broken pieces of glass. He's expressing it, right? So just by that empowerment, like you can do much more. And I think, yeah, and we also see that in the life of Srila Prabhupada. It's the empowerment of his guru. Because of his gratitude to his guru, he's empowered. And that's why he was able to cross all the way from the east to the west to spread the Krishna conscious movement, right? And so then what happens is he takes that, and then the Lord puts him, and then we all know what has happened, right? Then now coming back, Dhruva Maharaj has grown up, he's now the king. Now all of that happens, and now comes the time of his death, the time that he has to leave. And then the aeroplane comes. When the aeroplane comes, now Dhruva Maharaj, what I would do, I would say like, oh my God, here is my chance. Get on the aeroplane, I'm going back to Godhead, right? But what Dhruva Maharaj does is, he doesn't get on the plane. He says, I cannot get on the plane because today where I am at is because of my mother. He's been grateful to his mother. So he said, I cannot get on the plane without my mother being there. Just that thought of being grateful for what he has received and where he is at. He sees his mother flying in the airplane, and then he gets onto the airplane. So what we see is he's received when he's at 5. And he's still expressing his gratitude when he was leaving. And these are from the pages of the Bhagavatam. I cannot connect to some of these. We struggle, right? We have witnessed it in our when Nine Sundari was leaving, right? What attracted the mercy of her guru was her gratitude. When she was leaving, those the final moments, all she was doing is, with her folded hands, she was expressing her gratitude. She could not speak, right? She could not speak. Her conscious, she just got out of sedation. She and we read, like, when the soul is leaving, it goes through painful, like scorpions, thousands and thousands of scorpions are eating. So in that painful situation, what Nine Sundari was exhibiting was gratitude. Right? That is an important lesson. At least that we can connect. And this is more visual because we can see it. If someone can see that video, we can see that she's folding and her hands going around through her guru, through all the Vaishnavas. So carrying this message of gratitude in our heart, where it is a continuous process, attracts the mercy of the Lord. We attract the mercy of the Lord. We attract the shelter of the Lord. And the last step of gratitude is applying this, right? Developing or coming, by doing these things, what we develop is, we develop behaviors. We develop patterns that become our nature, right? Because by nature, we know how much we struggle. Even in this verse, Prabhupada is expressing, right? He's saying that we are covered, we cannot do this, we are struggling. But by just being grateful, through our actions, through our words, and through our thoughts, we can attract the mercy of the Lord and develop such characters. It's because of that mercy. Again, it's because through that mercy only we get these qualities. And Sachinandan Maharaj very beautifully says, how can we develop? It's by practice. We're all in the rat race. We're all running around every day. What we can do is just take a minute, take 2 minutes to recognize, to write down to write down whom we are grateful for, or what we are grateful for that day. We don't have to go back years, and if we have the time, sure. But what I've seen is, when I start, most of the sannyasis, they have a gratitude journal that they write, right? The journaling helps us, one, to recognize and appreciate the glories of others. And it actually helps us to become humble, because we see other person greater than us. So we are somehow or the other, by this practice, we will develop the mood of Trinadapi Sunichena. And when we develop the mood of Srinadapi Sunichena, it attracts the Lord. And I'm too far from that. I'm just sharing based on what I heard. This is not that I have, I have something that I practice. Yes, one thing that I do practice is writing a gratitude journal, which has helped me immensely. Because when I sit to write, I start with a devotee and I end up with Prabhupada or I end up with someone else. And actually, Rajvihari Prabhu shared a very important thing, right? When we appreciate what we received at that point or in that day, in that week or something. And then we appreciate the good that has happened, appreciate the person that has happened. And then when we connect that person to someone in our scriptures or in our life who are superior, we actually become grateful when we are trying the process of appreciation. So I'll stop here. Thank you so much for again giving me this wonderful opportunity. It was a painful opportunity for you guys, but a wonderful opportunity for me because it helped me to take shelter in these verses. It helped me to take shelter of these Bhagavad, of our acharyas and the person Bhagavad in the pages of the Bhagavatam. So if anybody would like to share or give feedback or correct me, please feel free to do so. Thank you. Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Prabhu. Any feedback or any suggestions or corrections from people on the Zoom?
Mataji, Hare Krishna and Dandavat Pranam. Thank you for the wonderful class. I personally like the point which you talked about gratitude is an action. Not just saying that I am grateful to you, but it is about reciprocating that with wonderful examples you gave from our spiritual masters, taking example from Srimad Bhagavatam. That was wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Prabhu. I think we can stop here.
Grateful to you, Mataji. Thank you so much. Wonderful class, as always.
Thank you. I'm grateful because of all your association. It helps me because I struggle. I struggle a lot. I'm not a public speaker. I cannot speak. It's only because of Shri Gaurangi, Himangi Mataji, Nayan Sundari, Golokeshwari, who like not just the speakers, but just that encouragement I get from the other devotees, that itself actually pushes me to get beyond my comfort zone. So I'm grateful for helping me to come out of my comfort zone.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranams, wonderful class Mataji. Thank you for sharing your realizations. I really like the gratitude journal.
Thank you, Ajay.
Next time every day. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you. Jai Shri Prabhupada. Shri Prabhupada ki jai.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.